Now, you might take a look at all those muscled-up gym goers and either swoon or perhaps have a giggle, but think again. It may be nothing to admire at all, or perhaps something to really worry about. Why are more and more people risking their lives, and what role does social media play in all of this? We're talking steroids. This is Roundtable with me, David Foster. There are many these days who want the perfect body and they are turning to steroids. The numbers who actually inject are rising rapidly. Heroin, it seems, now takes second place when it comes to needles. Just how bad is all of this and what are the risks?
They're hoping to achieve the perfect Instagrammable muscular physique. Up to 1 million people in the UK are taking steroids to improve their body image. Globally, there is a concern about anabolic steroids' life-threatening health risks. Has a well-toned body become more important than health? Taking steroids risks heart failure, strokes, infertility, aggressive behaviour and depression, as well as liver and kidney tumours. Most users are young men, and despite the health risks, young people are often reluctant to seek medical advice, and they don't think of themselves as drug users. Traditionally, this performance-enhancing drug has been linked to elite athletes, bodybuilders and powerlifters. Now, the UK National Health Service needle exchanges have seen a 600% increase for steroid users in the last decade. Users also face a high risk of contracting infectious diseases such as HIV and hepatitis B and C from sharing needles amongst peers, even at the gym. Why are more people risking their lives for physical attractiveness? Users are largely supplied by underground laboratories producing counterfeit steroids. The Crime Survey for England and Wales indicates that 16 to 59-year-olds' use of anabolic steroids increased by 77,000 in 10 years. In Ireland, over the last 3 years, the number of steroid units confiscated by police has risen sharply. The American College of Epidemiology claims 3.3% of the world's population have used anabolic steroids at least once. Personal possession of this Class C drug is not a criminal offence in the UK, although the sale and distribution of it is. As social media and television advertising of toned bodies continues to rise, more people are feeling pressured to match this beauty standard using the dangerous shortcut of steroids. Easily found and bought online, can the government step in and end Britain's steroid epidemic? Does the media have a responsibility to show realistic body types, or has the needle gone in too far?
Well, I'm very pleased to say that we have joining us on Skype from Middlesbrough, Andrew Richardson, a blogger who's written about drugs in sport. Hi, Andy. Kean is with us, independent researcher into steroid misuse, also a former steroid user. Callum Jackson is here, personal trainer, ex-professional cricketer, and Roy Jones, a nurse who specialises in substance abuse. All very well qualified, I would say, to talk about this. But Andy, let me come to you first of all. I've got a headline here from The Guardian 3 years ago. 60,000 people a year take the drugs. I've got one from this year that says a million, as many as 1 million people are taking anabolic steroids. And you think it's an even bigger problem than that?
Yeah. We're a very image-focused culture. So an example of that be we've got Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TV, magazines, film, and drugs and sport, that's where it really originated. It's been around for years. And like the first sort of adaptation of drugs in media, we could go far back as Captain America in like the Marvel comic, because everything special about him came out of like a bottle. And then that's now grown and grown, and now we're seeing how people are changing filters and perceptions, Photoshop, lighting to get this ideal body type they want. And since we live in a generation where everything is just so instant and quick, I mean, it's no surprise people go for these drugs to help get their body they actually want.
These are illegal drugs. How can it go from 60,000+ to somewhere between 1 and 2 million in the space of 3 years?
Internet is one of the easiest routes to source them. go online, you can buy them ordered to your house, dark web, using like the cryptocurrency because it makes it harder to trace. Other means using your dealers at gyms or friends. And there's been some like films of how people have created these drugs. That's very easy
Joe,
to do.
you're nodding at this.
Yeah, I mean, what I wanted to say actually, I mean, I think that the estimation 3 years ago of 60,000 was grossly underestimated.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The British Crime Survey, well, I think it's called something different now, but actually, I mean, even 3 years ago, the numbers would have been, you could have added another zero on easy.
Well, the Crime Survey was the one that said 66,000. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Okay, well, fair enough, but it's gone up massively.
absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
And do you agree with the same?
I do agree with Andrew. I mean, I think I'm showing my age here a little bit, but if I think back to when I was younger, there was no Instagram, no Facebook, no Men's Health, no FHM. There was no pressure on men to look a certain way at a young age. But nowadays, they sell everything by putting a young, fit male on the cover of it. So these days, I mean, when I was 15, there was no way I had any idea that I should look a certain way. But now we hear of your 15-year-olds using steroids. So.
And this is your job to sell that sort of perfect body, Callum.
Yeah, I mean, and I myself feel that pressure to look a certain way. So you know, having an Instagram myself, I use that as a platform to sell my personal training, to sell my online programs. So I feel a pressure to look that way, to portray this is what you can achieve. I suppose my job is to try and protect people from that side of things and try and sway people towards the more sustainable fitness lifestyle.
Because let's make this absolutely clear. As a professional cricketer, you were drugs tested. You haven't used steroids.
No.
You advocate only the natural methods of.
Yes.
Is bulking up the right word?
It depends what your fitness goal is. I mean, there are types of steroids that can shred fat. There are types of steroids that can make you put on loads of muscle. It depends what your fitness goal is. I have clients come to me with a whole range of fitness goals, and a lot of them do say, I want this done as quickly as possible. Whereas I'm always advocating, you want a sustainable, healthy lifestyle. Okay, so
we'll talk about social media pressures in just a moment, but we need to bring in health professional here. And Roy, you've what, 15 years of looking at this?
Yeah, about 15 years I've been working with steroid users.
Are they drug addicts?
Are they drug addicts? No, I wouldn't say they were. I think the people I see generally have issues around self-esteem in some way. It's very rare to see a person who knows exactly what they want to do in terms of their drug use. I'm going to do one cycle and I will achieve these aims and I will be this way. That's very rare. People will come in and they'll say, oh, I don't feel confident in the way I look. I'm not happy with this part, this part, this part. And they're seeing steroids as the way to change it. Some people I see who haven't even been in the gym properly, they don't know how to lift weights, but they're still going for what they view as the quickest way to
And this is with the needles?
With injectables, sometimes orals, but they will go straight for the steroids.
Okay, so what does it do to you?
In terms of why they would do it, the acceleration of muscle growth, they say that in a 3-month period you can achieve what you would in a year. So for those people that want to get there as quickly as possible, the temptation obviously is great. The problem is when you start messing around with your hormones and you start to get peaks and troughs in your hormones, when you've actually put the muscle on and the cycle stops, then you have a crash because your natural testosterone's been shut down, and it can take a little while for that to get back to normal again. So it's not just about putting on the muscle and then everything's hunky-dory. You get into a kind of pharmaceutical roundabout, trying to fix things that aren't naturally, stable.
High blood pressure, I've got a note of here, aggression, depression, heart problems, cognitive damage. Yep.
There's a couple of things that I wanted to touch on quickly, if that's all right. The first thing was the idea about steroids being addicts or dependent on drugs. And while they're not so in the same classical sense that we think of as things like crack, heroin, cocaine and other things, actually there's a lot of commonality with the markers for dependency. So if you think about drugs that start to take over your life that you carry on taking because despite having adverse health effects that you continue to take despite the fact that they get in the way of relationships and and affect your family dynamics and things like that. There are a lot of common themes, and just what Roy was touching on there as well. When you do come down, when you do finish taking steroids, your body isn't producing any testosterone.
It completely stops, does it?
Completely stops, yeah. So the first thing you think about to fix that is to take more steroids. So
and if you're not producing testosterone as a male, what do you feel like? Do you
depressed? I think
it's
depressed,
one
low
of those-
energy.
Rubbish, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely rubbish. Yeah.
Andy, there's something you wrote that suggested that we were talking about social media and pictures and etc. Children's toys, let's say Action Man. Action Man has bulked up over the last 20 years.
In the work of Professor Harrison Pope from Harvard University, if you look at how Action Man started out, like a timeline to what he is now, like he's put on massive amount of mass size, he's got leaner. So as the bigger he's got leaner as well. It's just insane. That's just one example. And another one is Mark Hamill in Star Wars. Whenever he described himself how his action figure changed, that he went, "Oh God, they've put me on steroids."
What about needles? Needles exchanges? Isn't that encouraging this sort of thing?
I think it recognises that there are people injecting, and if people are going to inject, then you want them to do it as safely as possible, because you don't want the transmission of bloodborne viruses and damage that they may
and that
cause.
is happening, isn't it?
Yeah, and damage that they may cause to themselves through, nerve damage or I've seen people with ulcers in their bum because of not using sterile equipment, and if you don't show them how to inject properly, then they run into more problems. So it is harm reduction that needle exchanges are promoting, and they also promote the return of needles and not to discard them inappropriately.
But some gyms have needle bins, is that
They
right?
do,
Yeah.
they do. And
Have you seen that?
I've never seen it, no, but sure there are.
Yeah, I mean, up in Yorkshire, we give out needles 1,000 at a time to certain gyms to bring back.
Really?
It's recognised, one, that needle exchanges work. There's absolutely no question about it. There's plenty of evidence over the last 10, 20 years to show that they work. Yeah. And secondary distribution, which is in accordance with NICE guidance, so the government recommendations, that you basically get...
NICE being the National Institute of Clinical Excellence.
Yes, of Health and Care Excellence.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they recognise that the ideal is that they want to have one clean work or one clean needle and barrel out there for every injection. So while we try and encourage people to come into the exchanges to get support from people like Roy, actually, it's more important that we get as many clean works out there as possible.
Let's hear from Callum here about what it's like being a young man and trying to get, in quotes, the perfect body. Did you ever feel under particular pressures to take it to another level? I know it would have been difficult for you because you were getting drugs tested, but you were aware of these pressures, were you?
I definitely feel the pressure to look a certain way. Just for an example, Love Island. I don't know if you watch Love Island.
I've heard of it. I've steadfastly refused to watch it.
Probably wise. So yeah, just Love Island, having 12 guys with six packs on the TV every night. It's probably the biggest watched TV program in England at the moment.
And there was an article that suggested that there were those on Love Island who were in awe of one particular person on Love Island who had, not just a six-pack, but an 18-pack or whatever.
Exactly. So you're always going to be aspiring to look a certain way or look like someone else. But there's just so much information out there. It's just so readily available for everyone to look at.
But Joe's right. This didn't exist when we were younger men.
No. Exactly.
So why do you think it's there now?
Well, it's just because it's there to look at. I mean, because I'm scrolling down my Instagram feed and I'm seeing all these guys who potentially have edited their pictures, who potentially have taken 100 pictures to get the right picture. I think they look like that all the time, and I look at myself and I'm thinking, well, maybe I don't look like that. How am I going to get there? And if you don't have the knowledge, or you don't have the patience, then potentially you will turn to steroids. And like you said, they're so readily available. I get Instagram messages every day saying, do you want this supplement? Visit this website. There's so many spam accounts out there trying to sell you steroids, trying to sell you other supplements. It's just so readily available.
Was that Andy saying something?
the reason why like a lot of people would go and use these drugs, it's a form of capital or like social currency. So for example, Instagram, your likes, your followers, your reach, that could be a form of capital. And if you've got an impressive physique, so in terms of like as a business, if someone is very muscular, very lean, they portray that they know what they're doing to achieve this physique without giving away that they're not actually using it. So this is a term called #fake natty. So people pretend that they're natural when in fact they're using drugs or other like image performance enhancers to achieve their own physique.
Yeah.
Who round this table, or indeed you, Andy, has heard of something called a bull worker?
Nope.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
So we're
Oh,
of a
yes.
certain
My
age.
brother used to
One of those things
Yeah,
that you
yeah,
push it
yeah.
like that, or you
Yeah,
pull it
yeah.
out like
fly
that.
out the window.
And that was promoted, I think, because of Charles Atlas, one of the most
Charles
famous
Atlas comics. Yeah.
Yeah.
bodybuilders of what, the 1930s, etc., etc. Now, people laughed when they saw him then. Why would anybody want to look like that? So the question is now, why would anybody want to look like that when there are so many millions who apparently do?
Well, it's interesting you say that, because the way Charles Atlas looked in the 30s and is very, very different now to a leading bodybuilder. Half the size, probably a third of the body weight, and probably half as strong, you know, but actually probably 10 times healthier. We're a pill-popping society. We want an easy route. We don't want to put all that hard work in. It's exactly the same in every field. We go to the doctors, the first thing they say to you is, if you're clinically depressed, and they'll say, do you want a tablet for it? They don't have time to be able to talk to you about what it is, or talk to you about your diet and nutrition and exercise and all those sorts of things. This is the type of society we've been brought up in. It's a quick fix. We
How
want
do you
it.
get around that?
And we want
I
it
think
now.
I think that's the role of the influencers. So the people in charge of the Instagram account. So you know, I've been called an influencer on my account. The things I write, there are a lot of people who read what you say. You have a lot of power as a social media influencer.
Well, I mean, you played cricket for England under-19s. You're
Yeah.
a professional cricketer now. Your pictures are out there. You are an influencer.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
So I try as much as I can to promote a healthy, balanced lifestyle. So something that's sustainable. I try and be quite honest on my posts. I offer a lot of workouts, a lot of inspiration, things like that. And you try and stay away from quick fixes as much as you can. But even in that, you know, you still have HIIT workouts which have come in the last, because of the body coach, high intensity interval training. So it's 20-25 minute workouts which is done, you know, as hard as you can, short bursts, which is, you know, supposed to replace your cardio which you do traditionally over an hour, 45 minutes.
Same principle, isn't it?
Yeah, with the same benefits. So it's the same principle of condensing everything
So
into a short amount
you
of
try
time.
and push the healthier lifestyle, but are you worried that you're fighting a losing battle here?
I've seen actually a trend in body confidence and things like that on Instagram is becoming really trendy, which is an amazing
What do you mean
thing.
by that? Body confidence is becoming trendy.
So, so you see a lot more influencers in the last couple of years I've seen being like putting pictures up of them not tensing and looking a little bit, you know, flabby, or you know what other people might perceive to be flabby.
They're a bit more honest and open.
Yeah, and being honest, and people really respond to that now. So saying, I don't always look perfect. They'll do a picture of them posed and then a picture of them not posed, and saying, I'm an influencer, I don't always look perfect. It's okay for you not to look perfect all the time.
So that's one way of changing the approach. What are the other ways? Presumably as a nurse, and your group's called Turning Point, isn't it?
That's correct, yeah.
As a nurse, you talk about the health problems with this.
I do talk about health problems to people, about you know, depression, the problems with injecting technique, long-term effects, the potential cardiac effects, and
Because it can damage certain chambers of the heart, can it?
well, no, it's to do with if you take anabolic steroids, it makes the blood more sticky. You produce more red blood cells, and it can affect your cholesterol levels in certain circumstances. So long term, there is some research to suggest that it can affect people's heart. If you put that in combination with things like alcohol, using cocaine, other drugs as well, then it's basically just increasing your cardiac risk in the long term. So I'm quite honest with people. I just let people know the potential risk of using particular...
You carry on doing this, you're going to die? Do you say that?
No, I don't find that to be helpful. I think the way to work with people is to give them the information, the most accurate information, and allow them to make informed choices. Because if you just say, if you carry on doing this, you're going to die, they'll just move away from you and won't be receptive to more information.
Yeah.
Can I ask you in a second about your own steroid use and why you stopped? But
Yeah, so Callum, I wanted to ask you, so for one of your 18-year-old male clients, if you said to them, when you're 40, you might have a heart condition, what do you think they would prioritise?
I would hope that they would say, okay, my long-term health is more important, but I think generally the reality would be, well, you know, I've come to you because I want to look a certain way now. Potentially, I'll, you know, sacrifice my health later on down the line for those, you know, whatever it is, Instagram likes, or to look better on the beach, or whatever it is.
Do you feel you have well, there's a reason why you need to be in on this, that you can change people's minds, you must change people's minds?
Yeah, as a personal trainer.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I feel you don't. I feel a responsibility to all of my clients, no matter what.
That's the word I'm searching for.
Responsibility. Yes. So I do feel like I have a responsibility to I keep saying sustainable, you know, sustainable, healthy lifestyle. But that's the best way forward, is to point people on that path, and people go to healthcare fitness professionals to get that advice and that knowledge, and I feel that's where, you know, it stems from.
What made you stop in the end?
Well, I used mine for injury repair initially, but it's very easy to see how addictive they can be, because you don't just repair your muscles, you feel better, you walk taller, you kind of you feel like you have your chest out as well. So we have previously thought of these drugs as just functional, but actually now but they're starting to be seen in the same kind of psychoactive area as other drugs, because actually people say that they enjoy using them. And I guess the other thing to remember is actually they work. If they didn't work, no one would use them. Yeah. That's the thing. So we need to acknowledge that and actually look at what harm we can reduce in people that wanted to use them.
Andy? Sorry, you haven't finished. Carry on.
No, I was going to say about what Roy was saying in terms of getting the right information out there to people is just the most important thing.
Andy?
Yeah, and I wholly agree with what everyone's saying. Just to go back on what Callum was saying, there's a theory called Goffman's 1959 theory of self-presentation, and even though it was written so long ago, it sounds like Instagram to a T. So what it says is, while in the presence of others, individuals engage in ongoing selective self-presentation aimed at controlling the actual context, and to make impressions on co-actors, and this self-presentation is about managing one's filter while dealing with others' response about you. So online, people can create their own narrative. They're very happy. This is what I'm doing day in, day out, but they don't actually show what's really going on. And if they get a bad reaction online, they can just remove the post.
Yeah, and we've done programs about that in the past. You're in a gym at the moment, aren't you?
Yeah, so I'm just in the uni here, just in their labs, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's coincidental, perhaps, but what sort of people do you get coming in? Do you get a mixture of those who might want to use performance-enhancing drugs and those who are simply happy to just go the traditional, the old-fashioned way?
So I don't train here. I train in another gym, and Joe won't obviously name the gym anyway, but there's a whole mixture, but it wouldn't be your general people who want to use these drugs to become like a bodybuilder or a pro athlete. It's kind of like your day-to-day people in the office just want to put a little bit of size, or they want to go on a holiday just to get a little bit leaner and toned up for it. So the whole demographics kind of changing. I used to be all bodybuilders and pro athletes. Now it's like your everyday guy off the street just wants to use something just to get that quick fix again.
Taking this seriously at all?
Well, they're reviewing, the ACMD are reviewing current approaches.
What's that?
The Advisory Council for the Misuse of Drugs. They're looking at.
So they're looking at it.
Yeah.
Is that enough?
I think they can advise agencies on how to work, and Public Health England have also put out information to drug services and commissioners.
Seems like a major health problem.
On how to move forward in how they work with people.
The danger with the route that we might take with the numbers is actually we end up criminalising a whole population of people are making it much more difficult to get hold of them, much more difficult to engage with them. So while we acknowledge that actually it's good that they're looking at this issue and the best way to do it, but the best way isn't necessarily making it all illegal for everybody. And
Well, we've seen what happens by making drugs illegal anyway. And this is illegal. Let's put this out. It's a Class C prohibited drug.
yeah, it's like they're tagged on to the end of the misuse of drugs. It's Class C, Schedule D, paragraph, whatever. But it doesn't, people will carry on using it, but it was, if we did criminalise it, if it did go up the band to Class B or C, to Class B, sorry, something, then actually we just wouldn't end up seeing these people.
Extraordinary. I'm going to have to say, we'll have to carry on this conversation away from the cameras, but it's been fascinating. Andrew, thank you very much indeed, and thank you to the three of you
Thank
around
you.
the table. Keep pushing the message out there that bigger isn't always better, faster.
No, it's just about how we digest that information online as well.
Take your time and you can still get what you want. Thank you very much indeed, all four of you, for joining me. Thank you for watching this programme. I'm David Foster. From the Roundtable team, we hope we have your company on another occasion. If you've enjoyed this programme, do let us know. You can find us on YouTube Roundtable, TRT World. Leave your thoughts. We'll have a look. Bye-bye for now.